Good morning, everybody. How you doing? This is Jeremiah, and get ready for a webinar on lighting. This is going to be pretty exciting. Big effort spent last year. A good chunk of last year. Good, at times 6 to 8 people here working on this massive lighting project. And this is finally a couple times delayed webinar showing all of that off. I'm sure some of you have played with it a bit, but we'll kind of give you the good tour. I got a couple of very quick housekeeping items for you before we get going. First, this is being recorded, so it'll be on the website later today. And down at the bottom of your screen is a Q&A button, questions and answers. I would actually recommend you click that right now, get it ready. So it's just going to be faster for you to type in a question, but note that you can also see the answers that we type out to other people's questions. So it makes kind of a cool little companion to the webinar. But that's all my stuff. I'm going to hand this over to Paul to take us away.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Thank you, Jared, for that introduction. Welcome to another Land Effects webinar. Get control of my slideshow here. Okay, my name is Paul Houchin, and I'll be running through the presentation today. And today we are talking about lighting tools, as Jared already mentioned. We recently added some really neat features to the lighting module. And although we are still busily developing for lighting, we wanted to show off some of the tools currently at our disposal. So let's go on to the outline for the day. Starting up top, we are going to be giving an introduction and overview. And then we're going to move into CAD, where we'll add some equipment to the lighting manager. I'll show you all the new features to the lighting manager. And then we'll move on to placing that equipment into a plan and some neat tools that kind of coincide with that. And then we're going to move on to wiring. We're going to wire up all of our equipment. Then I'll show you how you can verify the design. And then we'll kind of wrap up the CAD side of things by placing some callouts and a schedule for your lighting design. And then, sort of the cherry on top, we'll move into 3D, which is really neat. I'll show you how you can take your lighting equipment and your plan, move it into a 3D platform, and then actually render that. So that's pretty cool. And then we'll kind of finish everything off with some of our current plans for future development in lighting. So preface here, we aren't going to go into strategies for proper lighting design. I'm by no means a lighting designer. Instead, we'll just be focusing on the demonstration of the tools that are available in Land Effects. If you are curious about some really great tips or guidelines for creating fantastic lighting plans, go ahead and check out the webinar that we had from Brian Qualls with Unique Lighting Systems on our website. We recorded that webinar, and he goes through some really great details on actually making lighting plans. So, as I already said, in 2019, we overhauled the lighting system. We brought it a lot closer to the standards that you'd expect from the irrigation or planting side of Land Effects. And so I just want to run through a couple of the updates so far. And of course, I'm going to go into these in a lot more detail as we go into AutoCAD. But right up top, you can see just the lighting manager has changed pretty drastically and become a bit more sophisticated with a lot more, with more categorization and organizational methods for organizing your lighting equipment, as well as some other buttons for circuiting, verifying, and so forth. Beyond that, we also updated how the manufacturer interface is displayed and the various options for fixtures and other equipment, how all of that is specified within your design there. So we really updated the options for manufacturers. And here we have our, on the left, the old new light fixture dialog box, which is very simple. It basically just notes cost, detail, and then some text fields that you would have to put everything in yourself, or based on the options you had before. But we've totally overhauled that and made it look a lot more like our other dialog boxes. And so we really brought the standards up quite a bit there on the right. We've improved our symbol library. Not only did we reorganize it, but we also created a new block naming standard and applied the lights to those standards. So the names are better. It's better organized. The more used symbols up top. And of course, the scheduling, now from a simple drawing table or spreadsheet option for scheduling, we've added options for displaying your entire palette, including XREFs, the details associated with lighting, also costs, and then different ways to display the data, whether it's below the description or if it's in columns as it was before. And you can see that here. The top was basically the only kind of schedule you got, whether it was in table or drawing format. And now we have different ways to display that schedule. The one with the data under the description being a lot more spatially friendly. But also, if you want to keep your data in those various columns, you can still run it that way, as you can see on the bottom. Another big addition that we added was the ability to specify wire and run the wire between fixtures and your equipment. And we even have a nice dialog box that I'll go into once we get into CAD. Additionally, we added the ability to circuit and check the needs for power. So now you can draw zones around various fixtures, and it'll tell you what the wattage is for that group of fixtures. So you can check your power needs before you actually wire anything up. And here's another really neat addition, is the ability to calculate your voltage drops and verify that the design layout falls within the electrical needs. So you're not giving your design too much power with over voltage or under voltage. It'll let you know if you missed fixtures when you were wiring. Just basically going through and error checking your work to make sure that once you do produce that plan, it's going to be flawless. We've also added photometric data via IES file compatibility. IES files contain a digital profile of a light's photometrics, which is basically just a mapping of the light distribution. And these IES files are available from the manufacturer. And we've basically added the ability to add those into CAD and then actually display a footprint of light in CAD, displaying the how much light you're actually giving, so you get a good feeling for how much coverage you're going to be actually getting with that light fixture. As you can see here, our light blocks have a preview footprint around them. That's the gray line. And that's the light distribution at 50% luminosity, as it would display on the ground, really helping you out with placing your symbols. And of course, with that IES data, we can transfer that over into your 3D program, in this case, Sketchup. Once you bring that data into Sketchup, you can then use an add-on for rendering, and the rendering will actually produce those light throws and give you an idea of what the actual lighted plan will look like before you actually have to install it. So today, what we're going to do in CAD is we're going to take this image on the left here. It's just it's a planting plan and a site plan, just an example that I threw together. And I've XREF those into a new drawing. and I'm going to place some light fixtures over it. I'm going to talk about those different light fixtures, how I got those set up, place them in there, and then I'm going to circuit those fixtures just to show how that works, and then run wire between all the fixtures, wire them up to a transformer, show you the verify tool, show off the callout tools, and then also run a schedule in CAD. And then we're going to bring it into SketchUp. That's just the SketchUp window on the left there. And then I'll show you how I was able to create the render on the right based on that SketchUp model. So let's run into CAD. So here's my plan that I briefly talked about already. It's a new drawing that I created, and I extracted my planting layer and my site furnishings and hardscape DWG, as well as my base layer. A couple other things I've done to set up this drawing is, as you should do with every Land Effects drawing, I've set a project to the drawing. Just got a lighting webinar project and made sure that my preference set is correct. And I've set a plot scale based on my already set drawing units. I'm working in decimal feet, and that is my plot scale set up. So let's move into the lighting manager, which is already open. So if you're looking at this for the first time and you've never done anything with lighting in Land Effects, where you'll find the lighting manager is up in the Site tab of the ribbon. All the way on the left, under the Rough Notes dropdown, you have your various managers here. Click on the Lighting Manager button. And that should pull open this Lighting Manager dialog box. Starting at the top of this box, let's just run through it. We have various radial buttons here at the top that are different categories for the type of equipment that you'll be using within your lighting plan. Starting on the left, you have your low voltage lighting fixtures, your auxiliary equipment, the wire. This is where you put all your types of wire, and then also the power sources or transformers. Under these radio buttons, you'll have a drop-down menu for various subcategories. So if I have various uplights, downlights, pathlights in my low voltage equipment area, this menu here will be filled out with those subcategories of uplights and downlights and area lights. And so if I want to organize or just view, say, the path lights in my project, I can drop this down and organize and just see those path lights without the others. This box here, this big white box, is going to be where all your equipment lies. And then on the right, we have two windows. One is going to show the symbol that is assigned to that fixture or that piece of equipment, and also an accompanying photo will be shown on the other box. So let's get going with this. First thing I'm going to want to do is actually place some lighting fixtures around my plan, just to start things off. To add equipment to your manager, click the new button down here on the lower left, and that's going to bring up your select manufacturer window. And these are the current supporting manufacturers in our lighting system for fixtures. And up top, I just want to choose a path light, let's say from Unique. If I click on the manufacturer, it brings me to a window displaying the catalog for that manufacturer. And the way that it's organized is you've got the name of the manufacturer and the various categories that the lights fall into. These would translate to subcategories in your lighting manager. And so if I wanted to browse just the path and area lights, I can click on this button here. And everything that we have in the system from Unique for path and area lights is going to be displayed over here on the right. We also have a link down here at the bottom that takes you to the manufacturer's website if you're curious about seeing what they have on the website versus what we have. It should be all up to date there. So once you find a product that you want to use, let's say we want to use this Centaurus 8, click on it, and it's going to take you to a new window. And in this window, you'll see the various options that you can apply to this light fixture. You got the name of the fixture up here, the description, and the type, and the series that it falls into. And once again, we have a link in this. And if I click on this link, it's going to bring up the manufacturer's web site for that product. So if I wanted to cross-check the options that are in the LandFX window with what is actually on the manufacturer's website, I can do that here. You can look at the various specifications or download the actual spec sheet there. Maybe I want to look at the different finishes and notice what it does have. So I get a nice preview of what these finishes are. Maybe I'm liking the titanium night finish on their website. I can now look into the options that are displayed here. I've got two different lamp options for this product. And the way Unique has their lamp set up is the color temperature is actually kind of set with the lamp that it is attached to. So if I change my lamp to the 2 watt 3000 Kelvin T3 lamp, it's actually going to change this color temperature option here because those two items are tied together. Notice when I change these, none of this data changes because it is still the same lamp but with two different color options. So you can go through here and specify the options for that product. So let's say I want to keep it as brass, but I want to change the finish to that titanium night finish. Just drop the menu down, click on it, and it's there. If you want to add a custom finish, maybe it's hasn't been input into our system yet, or for whatever reason you have a need to add a custom material or option, finish option, you can click on the add custom, and it's going to give you just a text field, so you can add in your own finish here, and then click add, and it'll add it to that list. Let's keep it on titanium night. So down we have our mounting options. I'm just going to leave those as they are. You can add your own custom accessory or one of the predefined accessories for that product. So once you're finished applying all the different options to that light fixture, click add to project, and it's going to bring you to the symbol library for lighting. So we want to choose a symbol that probably applies to a path or an area light. Probably not one of these directional symbols here, maybe one of these simple circle symbols. And these are just blocks in our LandFX library. And so if you do want to add your own custom light blocks, you can do so. Check out our save custom blocks. Check out our website for information on that. We have various video resources and knowledge-based articles that go into how you can create your own blocks and save them into the system. This library is in the discipline graphics under electrical and within lighting. So save those blocks into that location and they will actually show up in this window here. Once you assign a symbol, it's going to bring up your new light fixture dialog box or the edit light fixture dialog box. And this is all the information that will be displayed in the schedule and the data that is tied to that model. So up top, we've got the model name. You can customize this if you need to for whatever reason. The notes are also customizable. We've got a fixture code that comes in with the fixture, and that is a code from the manufacturer. We can assign the fixture a cost. So if you know what the cost of this is, or you have a rough estimate, go ahead and put a cost in. If you have a installation detail, or you want to tie it to an installation detail, click on the Set Detail button, and it's going to pull up in your detail manager. And if you want to have that detail in your project already to assign it to that product. And here are the various options that you saw in the previous dialog box here displayed. They are grayed out. That is because if you need to reconfigure this information, you're going to need to replace the reconfigure button. And what that'll do is that'll just take you back to that option configuration dialog box from before. Underneath that, you'll see the symbol that you've chosen and also a photo. If for whatever reason you want to change the symbol, just click on this preview slide and pick a different symbol. Same with the photo. If you want to add a photo, maybe a photo that you took to this light, maybe a photo of the light installed in the landscape versus the almost stock photo from the manufacturer's website. Click on that and it'll take you to your Windows Explorer so you can choose a photo for that. And then here's some more options down below. The View Data button is going to take you back to that manufacturer's website on that product. So click OK. And now that fixture is in our lighting manager. And we've got our preview image and our preview of the symbol. If you ever want to edit that information, there's an edit button down here. Just select the product, click edit, and it's going to take you back to that previous box. Now let's also add in an uplight. The goal here is I'm going to uplight these trees in the inner ring of this patio, and then I'll place some path lights around on some of the paths. So for the uplight, I'm actually going to go with a different manufacturer. Let's go with FX Luminaire. Navigate to the Uplight section and choose a product. This product is set up a little bit differently, being that it's from a different manufacturer. The color temperature is something that you can choose outside of the lamp options, and there are different lamp options. So if I want to change the color temperature to 450, I can do that outside of changing the actual lamp. And so once again, choose your options for this product and then add it to the library. I'm going to give this one a directional symbol and a cost and click OK. Now, if we don't have a specific fixture that you want to use in the system, you can add in that data yourself. To do this, you'll want to click on the new button, and then instead of clicking on a manufacturer, click on the generic option, and then you'll want to just choose your symbol, and it's going to bring you a blank new fixture dialog box. So at this point, you would need to go through and manually add in all of those bits of information for that product. But we don't need to do that today. So now we have the two lights that I'm going to be showing off. Before I move on to any of the other things in the lighting manager, I'm going to actually start placing these into the landscape here. So like I said before, I want to place some uplights on these trees and some path lights around the paths. So starting with my uplight, I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to click the place button. Alternatively, you can just double click on this, and it's going to give you that block. You're going to click where you want that block to be inserted. And once you click, you'll be able to rotate the block around to get that perfect angle. So I'm going to place it there, and I'm going to shine it onto that trunk. And maybe one on this side as well, aiming towards that tree. And you'll notice here that gray dashed line, that is the footprint of that light. And that's, once again, that's at 50% luminosity. And I'll just place a couple more of these real quick. 2 per tree. I heard that was a good idea somewhere. So my mouse is a little bit jumpy here. So it's maybe not as smooth as it should be. So we'll just continue placing these lights. I'm able to pan around with my middle mouse button as I place my fixtures. And I'm just doing these one at a time. Maybe that one's a little too close. I'm just going to click on it, use the move tool. That's the M key, and enter, and place it so that it's shining at that tree. Okay, so I've placed some uplights one at a time. Pretty basic. But now I want to place some path lights, but I want to use some cool placement tools to do so, to make this process a little faster. So let's move to our path light, and let's place one into the landscape. I'm noticing that the footprint is a bit off. And I know that was a bug that we just fixed. Let's see if perhaps I have a block definition in here from a previous iteration of this.
Well, move on. I'll take a look here on my side and see if I can track that down.
Yeah, I know it was a bug from last week, and I did update, but I may have been using this file. But the footprint for this should be a circle, showing an even distribution of light around the actual fixture itself. So try to imagine that. I'm going to place this light into the landscape here. And as I do so, I'm just going to end the command and use some CAD tools to place this around real quick. First one I want to show is if I want to place this light, but I don't want to go to my manager and find out which light it is, I can go to the Match Object button here in the ribbon. With Match Object, you basically just click on a line effects block, and it's going to give you that block to use. And so you can quickly go in and place one at a time once again. Now, I also want to show off the copy along tools. So if I want to copy these blocks along this line, I'm going to go up here to Copy, choose the Copy Along Line option, and I'm going to click on a block, and I'm going to drag it out. And there's a spacing already set to it. But if I pull open my keyboard commands, down here in the command line, you can see if I hit the K key, it'll open up my quick keyboard commands. I have these various keys I can press for different options. So I can press W to space the blocks out. I can increase or decrease the spacing with the A and D key. I can press S to place the spacing at 100%, or I can choose a specific spacing distance by pressing the 1 key. So maybe I want a specific distance. So I want to press 1, and maybe I want 12 feet between each block. Sure. And then I just click and continue clicking around, and it'll space those as close to 12 feet as can be. Now, one cool tool that we do have that would make this even faster. I'm just going to delete these to show it off. And I want to show the copy along polyline. So I'm going to draw a polyline that actually follows the edge of this path here. Just real quick. All the way to where I want the string of lights to end. Like that. And then I'm going to choose my copy along polyline. Click on that fixture, and I'm going to select the polyline that I just drew. And it's going to allow me to draw the lights along it by just dragging my mouse. I'm not clicking, I'm just dragging my mouse. And it's going to place those light fixtures around. And I'm just going to click to end the command and place those. And let's place a few more on this side. You can also choose polylines within an XREF. But since this is a closed FX line, I'm just going to draw a quick polyline to follow. Okay, now I can just delete these polylines that I used as reference. And I've now placed the light fixtures that I want to be showing off in here. So once I've gone through and I've placed my lights, and I think my site is well lit, I want to, of course, wire them up. But before we do that, let's check out the circuiting tool, because the circuiting tool is going to tell me what kind of power I need for the lights. So what I did is I clicked on the circuit tool down here in the lighting manager, and then I'm going to click on new. And it's going to bring me, it's going to prompt me to draw a polyline or an area around the lights that I want to calculate. So I'm just going to draw my zone around all my lights and hit enter to close it. And it's going to show me that my zone requires 70 watts of power. Now, if I went in here and maybe it was too much, or I deleted a light or added some lights to that zone, I can then go into circuit, and instead of redrawing it, oh, it looks like I did already, but you can recalculate if the just to refresh the power within. And we get a little tag for that zone showing you what that wattage value is. So now that I have this, I can place my transformer and power up to that. So let's go to our power radio button in the lighting manager and click on new. Now I know I'm going to be working with a transformer, and there's no transformer option here. That's because you need to specify an electric panel before you can place a transformer. The reason for this is that once you specify your electric panel, it'll let the system know what voltage you're starting with. So that's something that should be done in like a site inventory, or that should be a known value. So if I click OK, you want to give it a symbol. Even if you're not going to place a panel in the drawing, you still need to fill this out. And basically, this is the information that's important. So I'm not going to place one in, so I'm just not going to bother with any of this information other than what's already given as a default. Now that my electric panel is defined, I can place a transformer. So I click on new, and now I'm going to click on transformer, And I'm going to need to choose a product for that. And for my example, I was working with the FX Luminaire DX150. So just like when you're choosing your fixture, you're going to get your manufacturer list, be able to click on a manufacturer, and then choose an actual product. In this here window, you get a preview of the various specifications for that product and how many taps it has and what those voltages are for those taps. So I'm going to add this product, give it a transformer symbol. And here I can give it any notes, a cost. Not sure what those cost, but put in your information here and notice that there are various tap inputs or outputs. Once you've added your controller to your lighting manager, go ahead and double click on it or highlight it and click place to place it into the landscape. And I'm going to basically want to place this because I'm not going to daisy chain all of these together. I know I'm going to be creating a couple of lighting runs between the fixtures. I want to kind of place this somewhere strategically so that it's somewhat centralized with the lighting fixtures and also on a wall. So I'm just going to place this over here. And now I can start wiring. So let's choose a wire type. Go to the wire category, click on new. And this is a little bit similar to choosing your pipe for irrigation. You can choose different wire types. You can give the specify which type of wire it is, plus the different sizes of that wire that you want to be working with. So I want to start with an SPT-3, and maybe I want to give my wire some cost. And you can add in a description and an installation detail as well, if you'd like. Now, you may try to click on 2 to specify a new type of wire, or 3. That's not going to work. I'll show you how that is populated here in a second. Another thing to note in this box is if you click on the layer button, it's going to bring up the edit layer box. And this is where you can specify what the layer that the wire falls onto, what it's called. You can change the color of that layer, and you can change the line type. So if you want the wire to be, say, a dashed line, you can set that line type there and change the line weight for that wire. And whether or not you want the wire to plot when you go ahead to plotting. So once I have my layer set up and my wire set up, just click OK. And it's going to show up in your manager here. Now, if I wanted to have a second type of wire, all I got to do is press new. It's going to automatically take me over to that second wire type. So I can specify a different wire type if I wanted to. So let's go ahead and wire up my system. Zoom in a bit. To place wire, just like all the other equipment, you can double click on it or click on place. And let's start with the transformer and get these uplights. I'm going to click on the transformer, and it's going to give me the various taps that I can go into with that transformer. There's a 12 volt, 13 volt, and a 14 volt. And since I'm doing this run that's closer and probably less lights than the others, I'm going to try with the 12 to see if that gets the power around. And once I've tapped into my transformer, I now click on my first fixture in the run. And if you're familiar with piping in irrigation effects, it's kind of similar where you click on a fixture, and if it attaches the wire, you'll get a a highlight indicating that you've attached to that fixture. In this case, it's yellow for an attachment, and it's magenta if you do not attach to a fixture. And the way that the wire is calculated here, it's not calculating the length of this curved line. Rather, it's calculating the length of the wire just between the two fixtures here. Or if you create a point out here, oh, you got to click on not a hatch. But if I were to click on a point and it would be magenta, that creates a point to which the wire is measured to. Let's move this out of here and continue wiring around to our fixtures.
And somewhere in here, Paul, by the way, Forrest and I, we found it was a data error with that Centaurus 8.
Oh,
so if you did want to add that back to the project, that will have a correct footprint. But just so you know.
Okay. Do I need to purge out the block?
Probably a good idea.
Okay. All right. So I've wired up to these uplights here, and I created this little thing here. I just want to delete. Now, if I want to make sure that this run is going to work, I would want to go to the verify button. I'm going to click on that. And it's telling me that's going to work. It is letting me know that there are 20 items that are not wired. However, for the items that are wired, I'm not getting an error here in the over voltage or under voltage section. If the run was too long or there are too many fixtures, it would tell me that there is an under voltage for these light fixtures, and they wouldn't be getting enough power to work. So I know that this run is good, even though I'm getting an error that I don't have all my fixtures wired yet, but I already know that. Jer said that this block data has been corrected, so I'm just want to quickly fix that just so we don't potentially run into any issues. And I think because I do have Sketchup open in the background, my laptop here is a little on the slower side.
You want to do a select similar there?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, delete. Regen. And I'm just going to purge out that block and see if we can't place this in correctly. Maybe I need to re-add the fixture in. So that brings me to a good point here. If you ever need to replace the fixture, you can edit it and click on the replace fixture, and then go to, you're probably doing it with a different fixture, but you can also, if you're just updating like I'm doing, go to that fixture, click on it, add it to the project, and it's going to update that piece of equipment. There we go. That is a more appropriate footprint. So now let's place a couple of these along the path. And I'm just going to do copy long line and be quick about it. Right now I'm using the S key to change the fitting size. And I probably want these to overlap a bit. And just continue drawing my fixtures up till I have good coverage along this path. Perhaps to there. And once again, copy a long line. Perhaps that's good placement, perhaps not. I apologize if it's not. Okay, so now we can go ahead and wire these up. I'm going to go with probably the lengthiest of runs, which are going to be all of these lights along this path. And I'm going to connect to my transformer. Now I'm going to start with 13 just to see if it works. And start wiring to all of my lights. Once again, that yellow highlight lets me know that I have successfully connected to that light fixture. And that is a lot of fixtures for that one tap. So let's see if that works. I'm going to go to my verify tool. And, oh, it does work. I think on my last iteration, I had wired maybe one more fixture, and it was just one past the amount that was doable for that tap. So I had to kind of reconfigure my wire. So if you do have an under voltage, you can switch to a different tap on the transformer if there's a higher one and see if that works. Or you can remove one of the lights and maybe attach it to a different run. Before I was able to attach this last light to the run on these lights, and that made the system work because it was just one light too many for the taps that were available. So just let's quickly tap into my transformer and click on the rest of my area lights here. And try to be quick about it. Okay, so I've wired everything, and I want to verify to make sure that the system's going to work. So far, so good. Next thing I want to do is I want to call out some of these items. And the callouts are pretty cool because they show you a couple different things. If you're going to call out your lighting plan, you want to go up here to the ref node callout under site callouts in your ribbon. And you want to start with your transformer. And the reason you want to start with the transformer is because you'll be prompted to give the transformer a number here. So if this is just transformer number 1, I can put that in and then place my call out. And it's going to show me the number of the transformer. It's going to show me the power draw for the current setup, as well as the overall wattage for that transformer. And now if I call out one of my wires in the run, I'm using the same tool and I just click on the wire and place it. It's going to show me first up top the number 1, which is telling me that it's hooked up to transformer number 1. The 14V is letting me know that it's wired into the 14 volt tap. And then the 20 watts is the watts used in this run. So all of these lights here on the left. And if I call out a fixture, I can place the fixture here, or the fixture call out, and it's going to give me a slightly different information. Again, the number of the transformer, the tap that's running into, which is the 13 volt tap, and then the 2 watts is the watts needed for that specific feature or fixture. And my mouse is really jumping around here. I'm just going to close SketchUp. Okay, so that's how you place your callouts. And now let's place a schedule just to show how that works. I'm just going to place it right here in model space. And I showed this dialog box earlier in the slideshow, but you have your option to place the schedule in a table or in a drawing, or you can export it to a spreadsheet to be opened up in Excel or whatever spreadsheet software you use. I can print out the entire palette if I just want to get an inventory list that I have in the manager and not what's placed in the drawing. I can do the entire palette, but that will exclude the quantities and the costs, obviously. So I'm going to include cost. I don't need to include XREFs because I don't have lights in my XREFs. And I also didn't attach any details, so there's no point in including that. And then I don't want a really lengthy schedule, so I'm going to just put my data fields below the description. And I can place my schedule. Now, you may be seeing this extra length of wire sticking out beyond the schedule, and there's a reason for this. If I were to change my wire to a hidden line or a dashed line, notice that the wire up here is now dashed. And if I regenerate my schedule, I have a dashed line here. If there was a shorter line in the symbol area for the wire, AutoCAD wouldn't allow it to be dashed. It would show up as a solid line, which would sort of defeat the purpose of having that line displayed in the schedule. So if that bothers you, use some AutoCAD hacks to hide it. Maybe just draw a rectangle around the extraneous bit of line there and place a solid hatch over it.
Yeah, we might end up basically widening the symbol column. But, we just, in the debate there was, do we make the symbol column that wide, or we just let the wire kind of hang off to the edge? And so, at least for now, letting the wire hang off to the edge.
Yeah, so I mean, it's fine out as, there's a workaround if you need to hide it. Maybe you place it in model space, and then when you're in paper space, just cut it off with the edge of the viewport or place a white hatch over it. But again, like probably most of the things that I've been showing, we're still developing them, and there's going to be improvements coming along. So now we've gone through basically everything I wanted to show in CAD. Let's go into 3D and show some cool stuff here. So in my 3D model, which I'll show shortly, I've already exported the plants and the site furnishings. Now I want to export the lights. And so just like with all other 3D exports from CAD, you want to go to the 3D connection button in the site ribbon. It's located right here. Click on that. And I mean, I could have left those up because there's none of those items in my drawing, but I just want to send over lighting. So I'm just going to select lighting, and I'm going to click export. And it's going to send the lights over to 3D. So now I'm going to move on to SketchUp here. And I think that was the issue, is that SketchUp did, oh, spinny wheel. No, it's working. We're chugging along here. So hopefully I can get through this. Okay, so I've already imported my plants in my ref notes. Note on that, since I have my site furnishings and my plants on different XREFs, basically they're in different drawing files, I exported and imported them one at a time into this drawing. That way I could have them all in there. And then when I was asked if I wanted to delete the current items within the model, I said no. So basically I'm just stacking on these different exports from CAD. So let's get our lights in there. If you don't have the land effects add-on for SketchUp, you'll want to go to our website and read up on how you can install that. It is free. But once you do have it installed, you want to assign your project to that project that you're working in. So I'm working in my lighting webinar 2020 project. So once that's set, I can now go to my import objects button. I think it's still called import plants, but that doesn't matter. So import, it's going to ask me if I want to delete the existing items in my model. I don't have lights in here yet. I just have those plants and tables and benches. So I do not want to delete those. Hit no. This box will come up. Nice little preview images of those lighting components that I did add into the drawing. Click import. And very quickly, the lights should populate my model. So as you can see the fixtures here, I don't want to move around too much because it is a bit slow at the moment. But the models have imported into SketchUp, which is very neat. Now, if you want to get to those cool renders that I showed earlier, you'll need a different program add-on for that. One that we've been kind of testing with, and we're still, still looking into the best practices for this. But we did find that Twilight, which is a free add-on, is pretty neat and pretty simple for creating renders. To get Twilight in SketchUp, go to your extension warehouse and just type in Twilight. And this Twilight render 2 V2 Pro here will come up, and you can visit the extension site. On their website, you'll need to download the extension file, and then you'll go into your extension manager, which is here, and load that extension in. Once you do that, you should get these tools in this drop-down menu here for Twilight. I've added them to my toolbar up here, and they're really neat. So I'm going to show you some of the settings that I've applied to this to get kind of a nighttime scene. First thing I want to do is I want to change the environment. That's the sun symbol in Twilight. It's going to open up this edit environment dialog box. And I change the background sky type to physical sky. And I change the brightness down to 0.3. Because what it wants to do is give you a daytime lighting conditions. So you want to drop that down to something really low, so it's dark, because we're going to be showing it at night. And then I also changed the sun strength to 0.54, and the sun color to like a dim grayish blue. And those are just settings that I found worked. Obviously, you can play with these and fine tune to a setting that you would like to use. Once I've set those, just close this box. And another thing, and this is something that we're kind of looking into for this, is I want to open up this button here, which is the Edit Light dialog box. And in here, you can edit the lights that are in the drawing or in the model. So if I click on lights, I have my 2 lights that I've used, the FX Luminaire light and the Uplight. So for those, hopefully, okay. Click on one and it's going to give you these different options. And all I did here is I changed the power multiplier for the path lights to 300 because as they come in with the current IES data, they come in really dim and it's not very visually striking in the model when you render. So I upped the power multiplier to 300 on these. And on the point light, I upped the power multiplier to 80. You can fiddle with these settings to get the sort of look that you're going for as well. You can change the color here if you have a very color temperature that you're using and maybe has a like a blue hue. Maybe you want to change the color of the light to blue. But those are the basic settings that I used for the lights. And to actually create the render, you want to go to the render button, which is this green button. Or if you go into the drop-down menu, it's the render tool. And it's going to open up this box here. And I'll show a couple of examples of the different settings within this box that I've already done. But I'd say starting off, just to get a feel of what it's going to look like, change the render preset to prelim here under easy. These are basically just already configured settings for rendering. Prelim and low are going to give you very fast renders, so those are nice to use before you actually go and spend the time in creating a really nice detailed render. So prelim, and then change the size to something small. I think I was playing with like 600 by 450 pixels per inch, just to get a very quick couple second like preview of what that render will look like. Well, once you have those set up, click the green button or click the render button, and it's going to run through and create a render for you, and that'll show up in this window. Once you do that, you can click on post-process and add some post-processing effects, like increasing the exposure, gamma, the light bloom, temperature of the whole image, or adding a vignette. I'm not going to do that because my computer's already kind of chugging along, and I think it'll take a while. But I can just show some examples that I've come up with. So this is the prelim setting. I placed my view on the ground, and I ran the prelim setting at 600 by 450 pixels. And this took probably 5 seconds or less to produce, so it was really quick. This is low setting with the same resolution. It took closer to 20 seconds to make. Low plus setting, it took even longer. Medium setting, even longer, but it is, a slightly better render as you go along. But this one, high setting, this one took on my laptop just about 18 minutes to produce. So, you probably shouldn't be working on anything if you're doing this. Maybe if you go on a break, let your computer render. But it's pretty neat, and it shows those light fixtures with their IS data producing on the ground. Here's another one I did with high settings at a 1600 by 1200 resolution with the post-process with no post-processing. And then this one, I adjusted the post-processing quite a bit after the render. And so you start to get a pretty striking image. Again, this isn't the highest settings. It's high setting, but there are higher settings and things you can do like bump mapping and adding textures to this to give it an even more realistic feel. But it still looks pretty cool, and it's fun to play with. So yeah, this year and beyond, we are continuing to refine the current lighting tools and build up our libraries with more manufacturer products and data. Furthermore, we are looking into adding standard voltage lighting capabilities to the system, not just low voltage. We're looking into adjusting, having adjustable fixture heights with dynamic light input footprints that the light footprints will adjust based on the height of that light fixture. We're looking at directional light tilt angles so that light footprints can change depending on the actual tilt that you give the light fixture. We're looking into light level heat mapping and power density mapping. And of course, we're looking into better integration of 3D and rendering techniques so that the process that I just showed could probably be a bit smoother and maybe help you out with having less steps in between. But we're excited to be moving forward with this. I think it's pretty cool so far, but we've got a lot more things on our list that we want to tackle this year and beyond. So that's all I've got to say. I guess we can take some questions now. Maybe I need to repeat something I went over too fast, or
Well, definitely. I've been typing away like crazy here. Like those of you who have the Q&A panel up, you've seen a lot of answered questions. My gosh, where to even start? Did you show the lineal feet of wire in the schedule? That was just something that came up. But
oh yeah, I
just
didn't
wanted to
actually
ask
go too much into the actual data in here. But yeah, so for the wire that I placed, it calculated that between each of the fixtures there was a 439 linear feet of wire. Also in here, there's the cost of each individual fixture with the total on the right, and also the total of the entire project that I put together down at the bottom. And one thing I was going to mention, but I didn't, because it is measuring the wire in between each point. If you are going around, say, a corner of a building or around a tree, or there's some sort of obstruction that you're going to see in the wire, you might want to, instead of connecting directly to the fixture on the other side, actually click around it to increase that length of wire to account for that obstruction.
And yeah, like Paul said, boy, lots of future things coming. Got some really good ideas in here. Really appreciate the feedback from you guys. But I just realized we're past 11, so I think we're just going to call it for now. Do please keep the ideas and things you find. You send those our way, because like I said, we are just really gonna continue to throw more effort at this and just continue to improve it. Some people, we sometimes like to joke, hey, the irrigation only took some 15 years and we're still working on it. But so obviously it is we realize it's definitely a long-term thing, but there's also a lot of things that'll happen in the near term. But it's just going to be a continual work in progress, and we're happy to do that. So just do keep the ideas coming. But enough of my yammering. Hey, let's call it, and everybody have a great weekend.
Yes, thank you, everybody. If you do have further questions, or you have ideas on maybe some development that we could be looking into, our ears are open for those. Please send us a message at support@landeffects.com. And other than that, everyone have a good weekend.